Before I really get into this video, there's just a couple of things that I would like to note. Any and all digital media used in this video is done so under fair use. Part of the reason it took so long to actually finish this video is because I had a copyright strike due to, I'm sure as you have guessed, Santa Fe at Bay. Do I find it a little bit hypocritical that somebody who made their entire channel based off of another creator's content decided to then copyright strike me for using 1 minute and 18 seconds of their content? Yeah, I find it a little bit laughable, but if you are watching this Santa Fe at Bay, please do so with an open mind and let's not falsely copyright strike it this time, okay? Another thing I wanted to bring up right at the beginning of the video so that everybody is well aware, I'm not going to tolerate derogatory comments about Alex's ex-husband and ex-friend group in the comment section. I ask you to remember that these are people who are undoubtedly grieving. They may have complicated grief. What we're going to be talking about is the harm of channels like Santa Fe at Bay and keeping out narratives about Alex's personal life out of it as much as humanly possible, just out of respect. Basically, I'm asking, don't make any comments that you wouldn't want these people to read. If I find them to be rude or too much, I will delete them. And just to put it out there for the people who are like talking about Santa Fe at Bay is just as bad as what she did to Alex. Not really. I don't agree with that. I believe in holding people accountable for their actions. She didn't really have a whole lot of remorse for her general tone of her entire page. She didn't take a lot of accountability. And I think it's worth discussing because this is something that we see play out on apps like TikTok and the internet as a whole over and over again, and honestly a lot lately. Even so, I also am not going to tolerate any type of doxing or personal information about Santa Fe at Bay being shared in the comments either. That's not okay. We don't do that here. I will delete that if I see it. Yes, I know her name from the copyright strike. No, I will not be using it. And lastly, before we get started, more pertaining just to this channel in general than this video, I just want to note that going forward, I do plan to continue this channel. However, the content is going to veer away from the one topic that I was talking about and talking about these snark pages and some of these situations on the internet as a whole. Just because I find it interesting and I think it's an important discussion to have. And quite honestly, the other situation has been talked to death. I don't really have a whole lot more to say about it. My videos will mostly remain available for those who would like to review it. But as I'm sure a lot of people have guessed, I am moving on. I have no interest in talking about it. I probably will not be comparing Santa Fe at Bay to Jubilee. Quite honestly, I feel like the only person who is going to find that entertaining and interesting is Jubilee herself. So I think we can skip that one. So without further ado, let's get started with the video. So I want to start this video off talking a little bit about who Alex was as a YouTuber and as a person. Alex started her YouTube channel, PrettyPastelPlease, in December of 2017. A couple of things were pretty apparent from the beginning of her channel. Alex loved fashion, and also Alex loved animals. Particularly her bird Archie, who is heavily featured throughout the channel. This is how her infamous tagline, "The bird stays," was born. The channel Pretty Pastel Please primarily focused on fashion and makeup hauls and also some fun travel vlogs. Alex had pretty humble beginnings on YouTube. Her first couple of videos are making milkshakes and it didn't go very well, but quickly I think people became kind of captivated with her personality, and very quickly she was able to cultivate quite a following. Part of the reason that people liked Alex is because she really was an influencer but she didn't take herself very seriously as an influencer. In fact, she was very honest and very funny, and her reviews of these giant hauls were entertaining to watch, whether or not you were actually interested in buying any of the stuff that she was showing. I think she was just kind of authentic in a way that a lot of people related to, and her videos were typically, at that point, lighthearted, very easy to watch. I know I myself like to throw her videos on late at night when I couldn't sleep for some background noise and just something like funny and nice in the background. And I feel like that is an experience that a lot of people were her fans at the time share, because it was easy content to watch. Again, whether or not you were huge into fashion yourself. And another thing I just kind of wanted to note somewhere in this video, while Alex reviewed large quantities of clothing and was sent large quantities of clothing, she also donated large quantities of that clothing and didn't really heavily advertise that she did that. And I'm sure, like a lot of YouTubers at the time, her channel gained even more followers once everybody was in lockdown and had a lot more time to watch YouTube videos. Debatably, Alex had a very bright start to YouTube with the PrettyPastelPlease channel, and it seemed like things were only going to get better from there. Her channel was really unproblematic at that time. It was really just a girl trying on clothes, having adventures, and hanging out with her bird. Unfortunately, when you are on the internet in any capacity, there are people out there who will be invasive, intrusive, and get really weird. This is something that absolutely happened to Alex of PrettyPastelPlease within the last 2 years prior to her passing away recently, and that is what we are here to discuss and dissect. And there's a few things I want to get out there very clear and very apparent just from the start of this. While we know that Alex was bullied and harassed by Santa Fe at Bay for the past 2 years at least, we also do not know Alex's cause of death. That has not been released. It may not ever be released. And quite frankly, it's really not her family or friends' responsibility to do that. And it's not really our business to have any private information such as that they don't wish to release. I know that there is a large suspicion that Alex took her own life. However, I am not here to speculate about that. I am here to talk about things that we do know. And also, this is a really kind of difficult topic to talk about for obvious reasons. And I'm trying to be just as respectful as I possibly can. So again, I am not here in this video to speculate that. I am not here to blame anybody. I am here simply to talk about behavior that we know happened and that I believe that Alex was well aware of, and I will show proof of that. Fully open and transparent. When I typically make videos, I usually have a lot of proof, a lot of screenshots. In this instance, Santa Fe at Bay wiped her entire internet existence within the same day that she posted her blamed video that people had blamed her for Alex's death, which actually no one did. They were just simply trying to hold her accountable for her behavior. Her behavior to me doesn't scream honesty. It screams somebody who has something to hide. In the process of trying to make this video, this woman has tried to falsely copyright claim me multiple times for using very, very short clips of her media. She would very, very much like me to be silent. That also does not scream, I didn't do anything to me. But again, I am not blaming her for somebody passing away, I am blaming her, again, for her behavior, which she exhibited publicly. And I have archived some of it because, she wiped it very fast. And I will be showing what I have. Now, because old gal is really quick with the report button, and because I have already had to go through YouTube's cartoon video copyright school, I am going to be blurring her videos for her privacy and using parts of the videos within the limits of fair usage. Because Santa Fe at Bay wiped her YouTube channel and all of her content off the internet very quickly, I was only able to save about the last year of her content, which is mostly what I'm going to be focusing on. However, I do recall when she had started making videos talking about Alex and the Pretty Pastel Please channel. If you were subscribed to Alex, you would have noticed that this woman's videos were popping up on your list as they had popped up on mine. I had noticed her following Alex probably right before she announced that she had moved to Tasmania or intended to move to Tasmania. Santa Fe at Bay claims that she had started covering her right as she was getting divorced. I believe that she was following previously and making videos previous to that. And even in her own videos, she said she followed her for many years. I feel like this woman has been kind of like lurking for a while. And I do believe that Santa Fe at Bay had at one point been trying to make other videos doing clothing hauls and things, I guess, similar to Alex. Make of that what you will. I don't know. I remember this woman's early videos clicking on one and thinking like this was embarrassing. So I don't know, like Santa Fe at Bay, you may have gotten views. I don't think you really necessarily had fans. I'm just putting that out there. I do believe she tried to do like Shein hauls or clothing hauls and different things like that. Those videos didn't necessarily get views, so she took them down. The bulk of her channel were videos about Alex, and then there was some commentary about other YouTubers intermixed, however, none of which was as derogatory, intrusive, or bizarre as her content about Alex. With the exception of her YouTube commentary about the true crime creator Stephanie Harlow, I also believe that Santa Fe at Bay has kind of a strange fixation with her as well. And I do believe that she was gearing up to do some of the same stuff to Stephanie that she was doing to Alex. I think at this point, it's important to note that Santa Fe at Bay wasn't the first or only person that was prying into Alex's personal life. At some point, a subreddit was created about her called Pretty Pastel Proof that was later taken over and basically hijacked by her fans, which is kind of cool if you ask me. And there was also a thread on the website Guru Gossiper. I was able to access Pretty Pastel Proof and look around a little bit. However, I was unable to get into Guru Gossiper. I do not believe I will be able to get anything out of there. However, it's a hate page, essentially. So you can use your imaginations. I'm sure there wasn't very much positive posted about Alex over there. But because I had followed Alex pretty quickly into making her channel, I can kind of make some assumptions and give you a little bit more information on where people became interested in her private life, despite having a fairly unproblematic channel. Alex had kind of a unique living situation, which was occasionally featured on her channel. And that was that she was married and also had a roommate who was not only her best friend, but an ex-boyfriend. And this person, Sam, was also good friends with her husband. All three lived together seemingly without incident. This is something that people were obviously curious about because that is obviously not how people typically do things. However, Alex was fairly open about it. She made several Q&A type of videos on her channel discussing it, how they had met and got together, and things of that nature. As her channel progressed, she did talk about this, and her husband and Sam were both shown and featured and participated in videos, and more of her friend group and all of their dynamic was featured on the channel. This was all fine and well until some of those friendship dynamics and some of that friend group and eventually the marriage itself began to implode. During the same time period, shortly before, Alex started a second kind of vlog type of channel called Pretty Pastel Side Quest, where she talked more about her personal life and then was open about her struggles with depression and mental health issues. And this is really when a lot of these predatory snark pages came into play, as well as Santa Fe at Bay, who we are talking about specifically in this video. And now that we are all caught up, let's get into her content that she made about Alex. And again, this will only be the content from the past year.
You're probably here for Alex of Pretty Pastel Please. There's loads of tea to drop, but it's really an episode in and of itself, as well as I need to finish up the series Love Flies. That is on my schedule still, that will not go away. She probably will eventually work on a redemption arc. Alex has spiraled into rockcore, thriftcore, a moldering romance with a man named Clay Pigeon of all things. She's hoarding pigeons, hoarding chickens, now hoarding dogs. It's a mess. She's messy. I almost had an OCD fit. I started showering like 3 times a day. I was getting blisters, water blisters from it, etc. I had to pull myself back because of not knowing she's not showering, knowing she's not wearing protective gear when she does remodeling on her rockcore cottage. She did this to her own life. On my last video about Alex, Love Flies Part 2, still commentary list, you'll see it below. I was told by some of my subscribers that Alex actually did like the Ryobi brand of tools. And that wasn't a big clue that Clay Pigeon was around. There were several comments on this and a little conversation from me to them. Just in case she is doing DMCA claims, I will blur out the pigeon's eyes so you won't recognize which pigeon it is. The pigeon is arranged.
Oh, look, I blurred out your eyes just like those pigeons, huh?
On the tools. I do believe this Instagram post was for me and my channel. She's showing, oh, look, I like Ryobi. But so did Clay, and one of those tools was exactly the tool he used when she forgot to pick up the foot pedal to a sewing machine, and he had taken his Ryobi and went to make the sewing wheel spin. What video am I talking about? Wait, what are you talking about? You watched all the videos on her Pretty Pastel Side Quest channel, right? And you didn't see that. You watched all her videos on her Pretty Pastel Please main channel, and you didn't see that, right? She's hidden it. She hid a lot of videos, and I just heard from GuruGossiper.com. Give yourself credit. I don't remember who said it. The Pretty Pastel Side Quest episode called They Made Me Cry, where she first met her new Tasmanian crew, most of which who appear to abandon her at this point. She hid it, and I think she hid it because she was not asking permission to film them before filming them. Now, when you're in a public place, people can just film you. They don't have to ask permission. She specifically said in her recent Instagram TikTok that she does ask permission. I think that personally, I do not believe her. I believe I've seen videos where it's pretty obvious she had not asked permission to film people. It may be implied, you're in my home, you're my property, I'll film you with or without your permission. But if you believe her, I guess you know what's best for you. I don't believe her. She made a TikTok recently. Also, she had to bring Caitlin into it again. She's holding strong and not privating her Instagram. I personally believe that Alex wanted to use Instagram Reels to boule her ex-friends from Sydney into hiding and privating their Instagram by sending her stands over to harass them. If I mispronounce things, you know it's a YouTube thing. It's just my opinion, but loads of people feel the same way. she had to mention her. So this will send people to view that video again, where it appears Alex is demeaning, tricking Caitlin into participating in a plus size video. And Alex isn't plus size, but Caitlin was. She would put Caitlin in these horrible looking things on the thumbnail. She's down from 720K followers to 709 on Pretty Pastel Please channel. She has moved over to trying to make Pretty Pastel Projects a thing on Instagram. She's not providing a whole lot of content there either. And people are getting scared for the birds that they're around, that they have no protection, lung protection from projects going on. Molds can get into the air, mold spores, as well as like rat droppings and the little diseases that go with that. But Alex doesn't seem to care about that. She'll put her birds on display in the construction zone itself, in rubble. I don't think anyone can help her. I don't think her family can help her. I don't think her ex-friends can help her. I do think Clay's still in the picture, and in my next video on her, I will put some of that proof in there. It won't be the Ryobi tools that she's like needling me over, but it'll be in there. That's going to wrap up this episode. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, actually, I didn't enjoy it. So this is the first video of hers that I had managed to save before the great exodus off of YouTube. And the reason why I'm sharing this clip is I feel like this video in particular really displays some bizarre behavior. She seems to think that Alex is indirectly communicating with her through using a specific brand of tools in the video. And what she feels that she's trying to communicate is she has this, at the time, supposed secret boyfriend. I think really what happened is she, at this point, was in the process of a divorce. Maybe they just didn't want all their business on the internet for this crazy lady. You know, I mean, that's a reasonable assumption. And it is almost at the point I can't tell if this woman actually believes what she's saying, if this is a joke, if she's being facetious. It is entirely very strange behavior to me. Also seems to think that this man is watching her and is trying to send her a message with these tools. Again, very, very strange. But also in her infamous last video, she says over and over again, Alex didn't see her videos. Alex didn't know about her videos. And I feel that Alex did, and I feel that she knew that Alex did. And she says it multiple times throughout the course of these videos. Another thing I think is important to note, during this time, this woman is following all of these 20-something, early 30-something people on Instagram, on all of their social media. She is following not only Alex, but this Clay man and also her old friend group, her ex-husband, basically all of them. I will put up her Instagram list because she didn't think to delete any of that before she just deleted the whole thing. And the other thing I want you to notice is that Santa Fe at Bay wasn't ever doing this out of concern for Alex, out of wanting her to genuinely have any help for the trouble she was experiencing. This woman took the full opportunity to step on somebody who was already openly down.
First, Pretty Pastel Please. I have to say I'm disgusted at this point. I don't know if you know where she's at in her YouTube career. She recently had to post a video on YouTube because she was approaching 6 months of inactivity, at which point she would lose her monetization. So her friend and presumed paramour, Clay Pigeon, pushed her to create a video to put on the channel. It ended up being a multi-part Twitch stream that was chopped up and put together and thrust upon the channel. It was a cursed items from Temu video. The quality, the editor, Edwin, did the best he could with the quality he had. Twitch streams are not really well known to be good quality makings for YouTube videos. except when the creator is genuinely planning it and has everything in place. That is not the big deal. The big deal is Alex of Pretty Pastel Please has claimed an autism diagnosis. Now, we used to have a word that rhymes with Asperger's to describe the diagnosis, which I believe she was pursuing since her Pretty Pastel side quest video of the same name, Fastburgers. I'll call it that. It was predictable that as the YouTube community tried to hold her accountable for her cruelty towards her now ex-husband and her now ex-friends, that she would look for a way not to be held accountable. Typically, when somebody's seeking this diagnosis, and I can speak from having a very similar experience as she did. I took the Fastburgers test. I ended up mildly in that category with very heavy masking and passing at this point in my life. Well, it was actually about a decade ago. I did get the referral slip to get further testing and to get further treatment for my adult ADHD. I have white coat syndrome. I failed to go to the referral. I was too frightened. And one thing I was frightened of is homework. And this is where we are going to discuss a bit about why I'm so disgusted with her. When you go to therapy, you're given homework. You're given flawed parts of yourself to work on. And you also are taught accountability for what you're genuinely accountable for. Of course, there's bullying and things that you are beyond your control that you can't be held accountable for. But she never talked about any homework from psychiatrists or psychologists or general practitioners. It was basically, she would take a pill, see if it solved it, a prescription, and then if it didn't, complain and get a different prescription. And I think it takes two to tango. Obviously, the doctors might not have been pushing for her to do the homework, but it led to her wanting this diagnosis so badly. Okay, so why didn't she get this? We only know her side of the story, and because I have been witness to and watching her channel and her other social medias for so long now, I can tell you she has lied so many times I've lost count. Lied, capital L, capital I, capital E, capital D. She has lied to her fan base. She has lied to her friends. She's lied to her husband, now ex. She's lied to people in her New Tasmania community. They all know she's lying. They can't do anything about it. They've either cut her off or accepted the way things are. But I'm comfortable at this point using that word. Thus, we don't know if anything she tells us about this diagnosis.
Before I respond to this ridiculously ableist rant, let's take a look at the video that Alex actually posted that set this all off.
Anyway, so comments. Woke up early and I was just waiting for my alarm to take my medication, and I was reading through the comments and I came across a comment that is not the first of its kind. It's not the 10th of its kind. It's the 100th of its kind, but this comment in particular is what motivated me to do what I'm about to do. So this comment was left by Sunday with Sprinkles, and they said, respectfully, have you been tested for Asperger's or autism? Often misdiagnosed in women/girls as ADD or OCD. Would explain the task-oriented tunnel vision, happiness in staying home, strong love of and comfort with animal friends, feeling more comfortable talking with the camera, and feeling of not... Whoa! Anyway, we're talking about autism. So, come here. I find comfort in my animal friends. Please return. Hello. So, strong love of and comfort with animal friends, feeling more comfortable talking with the camera, and feeling of not fitting into the normal mold. Like, why can't I be like and feel like and function like everyone else? Would also explain why the meds aren't really working consistently as they should. Just an amateur observation, I just see a lot of the struggles I had at your age and have since overcome by stop trying to fit into the normal schedules and expectations. And then they also said, if you're curious, maybe try the RAADS test at Embrace Autism. Hope this helps. Now, a lot of people with autism have left comments for me over the past 26 days saying, Alex, have you ever been tested for autism? And to be honest, I have absolutely considered the fact that I may have it, but I have several friends with autism and I don't relate to any of the traits that they show or that they've told me about. I do realize now though, because of my ADHD diagnosis and me thinking, no, I don't have ADHD, I don't do any of that stuff. There are so many layers to neurodivergency, and one condition can have thousands of different ways that it shows itself. So I thought, all right, I'll do this test, and maybe anyone else that's thought possibly they might have, even if you don't know what you have, if you're just like, I do feel different, or I relate to a lot of the things Alex does, or I relate to a lot of the things that people in the comments say that they do, maybe do this self-assessment with me. And I don't know how it works though, because I haven't actually done it yet, but if it's just like an answer the questions kind of thing and you get a score, maybe you should try too. So that's how we're going to start our morning. We're going to cuddle our, what was the exact wording? Strong love and comfort with animal friends. We're going to strongly love and find comfort with our animal friend. If you have one, please acquire animal friend and take comfort in it. And let's do this autism assessment.
So the video that Santa Fe at Bay was referring to was quite literally called Autism, not Fastburgers or Asperger's, because we don't use that term anymore and haven't since like the 1990s. And all that Alex is doing here is taking the RADS test, which is a really great tool for those who are trying to see if they might possibly need to get diagnosed for autism. It's just basically a self-assessment that you can take. And she did this on video, went through each of the questions, and did it in a way that people who are watching could go ahead and take it with her. And that was the entire video. We'll note, before I get any smartasses in the comments, that the RADS test does discuss Asperger's. However, we know now that autism is a spectrum, and in general, people shouldn't be using the term Asperger's anymore. In my personal opinion, in a lot of people's personal opinions, it's not necessarily correct. It's not politically correct. And quite frankly, I believe Santa Fe at Bay was using that word in quite a mocking tone. What Alex was doing here was simply trying to learn about herself and possibly help some of her followers learn about themselves as well. She wasn't trying to deflect blame or deflect any responsibility for the issues in her marriage or in her friendships. That's all a projection on the part of Santa Fe at Bay, and it's very clear here that it's a projection. Because if you read between the lines, this woman is talking about how she took a similar assessment and was possibly somebody who might have autism, and then didn't feel like doing the work to go through with everything that needed to be done to obtain that diagnosis, didn't seem to be interested in that diagnosis. So this woman is upset that Alex is trying at this time to get a diagnosis. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. If someone is making a video where they're simply doing an autism assessment and your response is to be disgusted and like feign this outrage, maybe you need to take a look in the mirror and figure out why that makes you feel some type of way, because I guarantee it wasn't Alex. Another thing that she goes off about is that Alex supposedly paid for this diagnosis. I'm sure this is going to be real shocking to Santa Fe at Bay, but the Australian mental health system is greatly flawed, and it is not exactly easy for people to get help for mental illnesses and conditions like autism. This is something I have been informed about from people living in Australia, which I very much appreciate, because that was not something I knew a whole lot about either. But even in America, getting an autism diagnosis as an adult isn't necessarily going to be covered by your insurance, Not everybody has equal access to mental health care and screenings, and that's just the reality of our world. Being absolutely flabbergasted that somebody might actually have to pay money into getting a needed diagnosis is absolutely wild to me. Again, at this time, Alex was being very open about a lot of the struggles that she was facing with her mental health. I think it's important to remember that it is difficult to be friends to other people when you yourself have mental health issues, and it is difficult for other people to be friends with somebody that has mental health issues. These people, Alex included, deserve a little bit of grace and to not have this Wish.com Cruella de Vil analyzing every bit of their relationships. So these next clips are going to be a little bit difficult to get through. Just to give a little bit of context, it is Santa Fe at Bay making a video and splicing it with an old video, like she's kind of replying to herself. Kind of reminds me of somebody else I know. I'm not going to say who. I'm sure you can figure that out. But we're going to look at it because there's a couple of things in here that I want to talk about. But yeah, it's a strange one.
It's Santa Fe at Bay. Welcome to another episode of Soft Dramatic Tea. Tonight, you will be traveling through time with me. That's right. It is currently June 1st. I'm recording an update on my channel as well as an update on Alex of PrettyPastelPlease. You will also be hearing from Santa Fe at Bay that recorded a video a little after Cinco de Mayo and a little bit before Mother's Day of May 2024. Thanks and bye. See you next time. So the cat's out of the bag. I want to cover Stephanie Harlow's divorce. I do. It's a brave move. She's a cranky woman. She could attack, but I want to cover it because it was a surprise, but not a surprise. It's weird because when I cover creators, I have dreams about them, but it's not frequent. Like every couple of months or so, I'll have a dream. And before there were any hints that she was going to get divorced, I had a dream about her. I was invited to her house to do an interview. There was nothing controversial in it, nothing hard hitting. It was just a soft interview. The reason I was doing the soft interview was because I had planned in real life, my real life, not dream life, to make a video on something I saw happening on her channel. And that was sometime last year, a long time ago, probably even before I got really unwell. Let's put it that way, for the chronic fatigue syndrome thing. She invited me to her house to do an interview. It was all soft. Like, it was nothing confrontational. I didn't want to be in someone's home and be rude. She was having me sit on the couch and I accidentally knocked over a lamp. It broke. Like, it broke. Something that could be fixed. It wasn't the base, but it broke. And I apologized profusely. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to break your lamp. I will pay to replace it. And she started talking to me as if I was a child. And I don't know how she was with her kids. And I don't know whether or not she was authoritative with adult people. But she just had this look on, like, oh, bother, look on her face. Which would you?
I probably didn't really need to include this. It's just a window into how bizarre this channel was and just how this woman, I don't even know, what is this? Like, what the actual... Why would you put this in a video? Just strange. And I think it also showcases that she was getting obsessed with Stephanie Harlow as well. That is what that clip is about. But yep, weird.
Right here, I will talk a little bit more about PrettyPastelPlease, and then I'm going to wrap up this video for real. She returned. She basically had at some point done a stream, and I believe I was there. I believe I watched it, where she was selecting, along with her audience, this was on Twitch, cursed items from Temu. Basically crazy, ugly, weird items, which don't appear in my algorithm very often. They're outliers for me. But she did a whole stream on it, and I thought the stream was terrible. Quality, I really didn't like the stream whatsoever. But I watched it for my channel. I watched it for you guys, and I still do to this day. Her streams are like agonizing to get through because the only thing people seem to be interested in is tea. And she's under the advice of her unpaid, she calls it unpaid help, intern, Clay Pigeon. The fact that she's pretending that they don't still reside, if not in the exact same home, in the same property. So maybe he got an RV or something and he lives outside, or maybe, I don't know. But it's just pretty obvious she's trying to pretend that they don't live together anymore. And in the beginning, there was something in Clay's streams where you could summon PrettyPastelPlease. Oh my God, for a creator with 700,000 followers to appear on a man's stream where he barely has 20 max viewers at any point in time, he's okay. He's okay. He's an okay guy, but that's normal for Twitch streamers, honestly. But she's coming on the stream and she has to get up, get dressed, put on makeup if she so desires, drive 45 minutes, then run an errand. It became obvious as time got more and more compressed that that was BS. Because just recently I'm on a stream and she shows up in 30 minutes. He calls her, Clay is calling her, he's talking to her, and she says, oh, and do you want me to stop and get you something too? And she's there in 30 minutes. That's not 45 minutes. She did have this whole story about one night she wore her contacts, didn't bring her glasses to Clay's house, and drove back without her glasses, which didn't make any sense because she took her contacts out, they were hurting or something. I'm like, what on earth, woman? And she said, yeah, I can't drive like that anymore. I had to pull over a few times. It sounds like, how elaborate are you going to get on this story? In this most recent stream, there was a thunderstorm going on. And so Clay's fibromyalgia was acting up. Hey, Clay, I know you watch these. I feel for you, man. I feel for you. So he had a really bad night, and he went on the couch, and he was sleeping. And she says, oh, I think I'll have to drive him home. And I'm like, what are you talking about, woman? 45 minutes one way. When is he going to come to get his vehicle? Then you have to drive him 45 minutes back the next day. And then he has to drive his vehicle 45 minutes. Just let the dude sleep. We all know if you're not doing the deed, you're doing the deed here. You two are sweethearts. And somebody is going to blow it eventually and tell the whole story. Whether it's you, whether it's Alex, or Clay, we don't know. I don't think Clay's in any position since he's working for her. And I think his payment form is some form of housing. And perhaps a food stipend, like she gets some stuff and that kind of thing. But yeah, they're trying so hard to hide it that it just kind of squeezes out. It's like a Pillsbury. It's like that dough. And you hit the can, it starts coming out, but you opened it too soon. Well, you know what I'm talking about. It's very, very, very early in the morning. Something like 3. I better check her schedule. I haven't memorized the days yet. But yeah, I'll do that for you guys and I do feel bad that I was gone. I do. I feel bad that I'm seeking a sponsorship. But YouTube, for all the views, guys, if you see that little membership thank you thing below, don't think I'm greedy. YouTube hasn't, look at the number of views on my videos, and YouTube has not paid me one single penny. And they sent me the survey, do you love us? Do you love us yet? Do you love us? Aren't we wonderful? And I'm like, grr, sure you are, honey. Sure, just eventually. Honey! So one of the times I caught Alex in a stream, by accident, she called Clay honey. And that's a very familiar mistake. If you're calling someone honey, very often they are your honey. Hey, how do you like my outfit? I love this outfit. It's more for, obviously, filming than real life. But this is actually Tommy right here. Yep. All right, and so are the nails. Okay, I have to go. I have to go do other things like check her schedule. Yeah, that's my life now. Yeah, but we are covering Stephanie Harlow. I'm excited about that. And thank you so much. If you do feel so inclined to say a thank you, I set it to the minimum that YouTube would allow of $1.90. I think it's $1.99 or $2, something like that. If you have watched all of my videos and you feel so inclined to help the channel thrive, please consider leaving a donation.
This woman is awfully judgmental for somebody who has a bouquet on her head. But anyways, let's talk about this very odd video. So the obvious here is that she's not only fixated on Alex at this point, but also Clay as well. She's making a lot of speculations about the nature of their relationship, where at this point, I don't think there was a whole lot of information about that Alex was actually giving on either of her channels. The thing I don't think is immediately apparent is she's talking about all these distances between places in Tasmania, Hobart particularly, and giving like time frames, 45 minutes here, this, that, and the other. She also mentioned getting up at 3 a.m. to check Alex's content, and I'm sure Clay's as well. This woman is from Michigan, as am I. Australia, Hobart particularly, is 14 hours ahead of Michigan, making it about 5 p.m. Hobart time. This woman is not only getting up to check their content and, their kind of time frame, but she's also on Instagram at this time following Tasmanian travel guides. So I believe she's also looking up the distances between locations, maybe even searching her address or even possibly Clay's address at this point. And this is where I feel like there is a line between being a quote-unquote tea channel and just stalking somebody on the internet. And this woman is very clearly at this point crossed this line. She has raced across this line and is being very strange. And again, she's talking about them like they know her, they're aware of her, they've seen her videos. It's a strange way to speak about people who you then later say they never saw your videos. I believe, yet again, I'm going to say it again, I believe they saw the videos. I believe Alex saw them. I believe Clay saw them. She was also constantly actively seeking ways to monetize this content. Now, before we move forward, I want to go back a couple of videos and just showcase a clip that I found very bizarre. It is Santa Fe at Bay talking about a creator who she began to follow because this creator was friends with PrettyPastelPlease Alex. And just this clip, I feel like, showcases this woman's strange fixation with not only Alex, but everybody surrounding Alex.
Tiasha Debray. Tiasha Debray came of the Alex PrettyPastelPlease channel. She may have had a career before that we weren't aware of, but I feel like her modeling career was launched from the PrettyPastelPlease channel. Tiasha has been on a world tour and she's been putting it on Instagram for us. It's been very lovely. I did wave at her when she was in Toronto, Canada. However, I don't think she saw me. She was 5 hours away. Maybe next time. She's off to live in London for I think she said 3 years. However, she's still on tour with her mama bear. She gave away a free foot pic. I think she should monetize that and contact a nail polish company right away. Her feet look lovely. I'm just blurring it for YouTube. Don't give those away for free. If you haven't followed her already on Instagram, that's where she's putting most of her tours. She does also have the YouTube channel Marshmallow Girls. I did see Tiasha respond to a commenter that she might put together a video on her journey to becoming a model.
And I've said it a million times in this video, and I will say it yet again. This is weird behavior. And not to age shame, because I'm not super young myself either. This is like an AARP aged, almost senior citizen, internet stalking, following, harassing, and being weird over a group of younger adults. Like, what are you doing?
I would love to continue this channel, and I'm planning to, but tonight I can't provide you with a lot of the extras that might help you out, help you understand this. I just don't have the time. I just want to get something out to you quick. But there are references. Guru Gossiper was down for a minute, and they're now up. So GuruGossiper.com does have reference materials on Pretty Pastel Please. Reddit Pretty Pastel Proof also has information on Alex and what she's been up to. So Lucy at the end of a recent video, and I will link that below. Pretty Pastel Please was a YouTuber, if you're new here. I say was. She still is a YouTuber who reached 720K followers. I think it was 720. And just her channel's been declining and declining and declining because she completely changed her life. She ended up moving to Tasmania. So as I'm watching Lucy make this video, I did hear Max say, and no one's giving me credit for planning the trip to Tasmania. I felt addressed. I am corrected. It wasn't Lucy, it was Max. And that takes a level of guilt off Lucy too, because people could blame her for the demise of Alex's marriage. Like, if you'd never taken her to Tasmania. So we're making some leaps here. I'm assuming you know that Alex is now officially divorced, or at least the paperwork is going through right now. The official paperwork is going through at this time. And yeah, I did want to respond to that. I admire Lucy so much for waiting to do any response. She wasn't doing secret messages. Caitlin could get away with it. She's not really on YouTube too much. So Caitlin could get away with the little secret messages, and I love them. Caitlin's been great about supporting Dan, honestly, and Lucy, and also Sam and Michelle. So if you don't know these characters, I do have a Pretty Pastel playlist below. A lot of them appeared on Pretty Pastel Side Quest YouTube channel. So I did want to say I saw it. I respect her so much for waiting to say anything. And even when she did, she was just completely professional. I feel like Lucy was dragged in to couples problems, and she's probably trying to do her job and be friendly at the same time. So the Alex's jealous rage came for the fact that Dan may have had a crush on Lucy, which let's talk a little bit about why Dan might have had this crush on Lucy. Right? So I'm not therapeutically qualified, and he is not therapeutically qualified to take care of someone in the midst of a deep depression. And she was in a deep depression, drinking. She said so herself. She's referred to herself as alcoholic on her Twitch streams. and also suffering from an eating disorder and having hygiene problems for herself, her own body, as well as her home, as well as having animals in the home and having animal feces about, which was the bird feces. Now, this is still on her channel at this time, whether she chooses to take it down. I think at this time she needs money, so she'll probably take down as little as possible. I am so glad Lucy had a chance to say something, because I feel so bad when a woman gets dragged into couples problems. Like, it is, we understand why Dad developed a crush on her. First of all, she's a luscious pear. Of course he would. Alex was starting to deny Dan the fee. Okay. It's perfectly fine to come out as ace, isn't it? It's perfectly fine. I feel bad that some people misunderstood my comment under the Alex Q&A Twitch stream reaction that I made. I feel bad that people misunderstood what I said, because Dan and Alex, on her Twitch stream, she revealed that they were having tensions over the lack of woohoo time, and I mean the D and the V. He has the right to be heterosexual. He has the right to desire D in V.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
It's not good to place it on a platonic friend, like a professional partner of his wife. Not good. If that did happen, he has not said anything, which I don't think he's in a position to say anything, because no matter what he says, people are going to say the opposite. Alex feels the same. Like, no matter what she says, people say the opposite. Alex's little plan seemed to be that she was going to deny him sex. She'd expect him to be faithful. And I'm like, you know, in your 20s, you might still have that idealism going on. Like, this is the way it ought to be, for better or for worse. He's not going to have sex with me anymore unless I'm willing to put up with it. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it's still kind of contextually what was happening per Alex. She said she just went along with it because he wanted it. But you don't want to feel like you're pressuring someone into it. That's gross. And she even complained at one point in one of her videos that she wanted Dan to speak louder, and he said he couldn't do it because he thought that was too aggressive. So this is like the guy coming across as really soft. Yes, he puts his foot down. He has boundaries. He's a timeline guy. These are discussed in my playlist. But it doesn't seem like he's going to want to be that man that's like pressuring his wife into woohoo. And then she goes out publicly with it. So that makes it even a level worse. Like, he's almost like a rapist at that point. And I'm like, no, Alex, you can't have it both ways. You can't have your man be loyal to you and then deny him the V and say, you're ace, bye, heterosexual man. I leave you hanging. And if you feel like flying to Tasmania to get the V, maybe I'll give it to you. If Clay has enough, her little paramour has a little enough time in his schedule for me to spend time with you without him. And it just gets really, really messy. That's why I created the playlist. Yes, you'll see the arc of me learning. I had no idea what I was doing when I started a T channel, right? I had no idea what I was doing. People say I make money. I'm like, what? You want to give me money? There's a membership fee, but I don't have a single membership. That's another thing. I don't blame anyone. I had a lot of problems paying people because you get all these tiny little bills on your receipt, on your bank statement, and you're like, what? When did I do that? You know, I understand why people didn't do it. Also, I lack consistency. So I understand, but I did not get one single thank you. Not one single thank you outside of comments in the form of a membership. Not one. So that is data. That is data that an accountant would say, well, how many people signed up for the membership? 0. Now, I'm not trying to shame or blame you. I'm just saying it's data. And that's how I decide my life. Majority rules. Majority said you aren't worth $1 a month. And that's data. And even if I made one membership, even if one person did, people would start saying over on Google Gossip, oh, she's monetizing Alex's divorce, pearl clutch. I'm not white knighting for her or anything, but I'm so tired of the SFAP. Just don't bring her up. She's so old. You know, they'd say things like that. And I'd be like, is it worth it when I get positive reinforcement for what I do elsewhere? And these are all the questions I think Alex needs to be asking herself right now. And we do need to talk about, well, how did Lucy get dragged into this officially? Like, of course, we kind of understand why Dan might have been crushing on her because she's beautiful and she's ravenous. You know, like, she's just like, if a man's ravenous and looking at something like that, he's going to feel a kind of way unless he has really, really good control. But it sounds like he was denied at the same time. So I'm hoping that Max kind of understands the situation and that it didn't go too far. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't sound like it doesn't sound like they knocked knees. So I hope that they both can understand and still be friends after that, because it just seemed like a natural thing that would happen if you have this beautiful woman in your home helping care for your sickly wife, cooking and cleaning and organizing. And I could see it. It was just like a recipe for disaster. It was a recipe happening, even if she wasn't into it. Like, she wasn't, not that they were, I don't want to insult Dan like they weren't friends. Obviously they were platonic friends, but yeah. So this video, I'll put it in text, contains commentary, speculation, and opinion. So where did it start? Where did these rumors that Lucy and Dan were involved start? 69 B star 69 posting out of Melbourne. Alex has one friend that we know of, Tash, that's in Melbourne. I'm going to say her name because Tash is in the storyline now. I don't think Tash is scared to be in the storyline, because Tash was like trolling people while Alex was visiting her recently on I think it was Alex's 30th birthday. She flew in to see Tash in Melbourne, and they were trolling They were trolling via Instagram. They were trolling people. Something about Alex abusing pigeons and something about drinking, like having a photo way back when they were getting drunk and having a photo now when they're getting drunk, with Alex struggling with alcohol and admitting it to everyone and still struggling. Even on Twitch, her Twitch stream, she is struggling. 69 B-Star, she started getting the nickname 69 Troll Star. So 69 B-Star 69 said that Alex flew in October to surprise Dan and that Lucy was there. I'm going to say it now. Lucy was there, and this is not true. Lucy was there and looked like she'd been living there and was using Alex's clothes and makeup, which doesn't sound like anyone would do that, or would no one would do that. Like, it's so gross for this person to say it. And then the funny part to me that makes me think it's Alex is that Alex had a full-time job from the time she got to Tasmania. And I'm like, oh, Alex claimed she was a wedding photographer when she was trying to get a house. In one of her videos where she was house hunting, she claimed to be a wedding photographer. She just moved, like she just left. She was a YouTuber. She left. There's no evidence of the wedding photography hardly at all. Years ago, yes, but not recently. And of course she says, oh, I'll keep it all secret. She can do that. That's fine. But I don't think it was a full-time job. She was renovating it. She bought a cottage and was renovating a cottage and caring for hordes and hordes of pigeons and birds and blah and blah and blah. No, I don't think so. I don't think she had a full-time job. But I think because Alex had gotten that Airbnb in Hobart and they was drinking with her buddies and playing card games and things like that, I guess that was a job. I don't know. But whether it was Tash, whether it was Alex, whether it was an unnamed party that's really close to Alex and willing to distort the truth on behalf of Alex, when Alex does a pretty damn good job herself, whoever it was, I think they were just lying out of their teeth. How did Caitlyn get dragged into it? Because the troll said both Lucy got. So it just seemed like she was trying to say both, that Dan was sleeping with both Lucy and Caitlyn. We assumed Caitlyn was what they meant to put there and dropped it, or maybe changed their mind about putting that name there. But the word both was there, and that's how Caitlyn got dragged into it. None of it is not true. This is not true. None of it's true. And Caitlyn did put advice out to Alex to just not think the absolute worst of people. And my thing with Alex is, I didn't even finish my point regarding being ace and being in a relationship. They were in a long-term relationship. So finding alternative forms of woohoo or alternative boundaries and ways in is part of being a long-term partner. And it sounded like what we lacked in context was that they had already gone through trying and trying and trying. That was the part that upset people, that they didn't realize I knew there was context. And I failed to put that in my reaction to the Q&A. I failed to put that there was context to the story. They had already gone through the process of trying other things, trying ways to make the marriage work, including their woohoo time. So I hope that helps, because yes, like if you're married to a man for a long time and suddenly he has ED, are you just going to dump him? Or are you going to explore the options first and see if you can make it work? But if you really need D and V, the relationship might fall apart. Probably for a multitude of reasons, not just one thing. But I don't think it's fair of Alex.
So I want to stop this video and point out just a couple of things. This video takes place before the previous video that we have just watched. So this is sort of the backstory of how Alex's marriage ended before she moved to Tasmania, which when I say the backstory, I mean the backstory in the opinion of Santa Fe at Bay, who watches all of these people as if they are part of some type of reality TV show. None of these other people, in her opinion, including Alex's husband, can do any wrong, and according to her, Alex just can't do any right. She contradicts herself multiple times in this diatribe, first being derogatory towards Alex for exploring the fact that she may be ace or asexual, and then later slut-shaming her for, in her opinion, moving on after her marriage has started to dissolve. And while I'm going to remind people again that we're not going to speak in a derogatory manner about Alex's ex-husband, there are a couple of incidents coming up that we do need to discuss. But just right here in particular, the very odd and strange bias that she seemingly has towards Alex, where it would be fine if the husband cheated or was looking at her friends and vice versa, but it was not fine for Alex to move on. And before we move on, again, and I'm going to say it many, many, many times, this woman is not getting her sources from the Pretty Pastel Please channel, Pretty Pastel Please side quest Alex was infrequently posting at this time. This woman is getting this information by watching these people's social medias and by watching this gurugosper.com as well as the Reddit snark pages. both of which she claimed to not be on, as you're going to see in her final video.
She wanted to run to Tasmania and play footsies with Clay, have Dan pay for her little love shack where all her little buddies would be, her little Tasmanian devil party, polycule people, no shade on polycules, but you know what I mean, that crew, be hanging out in their love shack with all the birds and all the bird poop all over them, right? Like, two of them ran away. Two ran away. I think more friends than that ran away too, but when she calls them together to pay for their meal, they're gonna show up. But she expects Dan to stay in Sydney, hopefully keep his job, keep the house, and help pay for her love shack while they're financially struggling. Maybe he sells it and lives in his grandma's shack. I don't know what that thing, Granny flat lives in his. It's a flat for grannies at his parents' house while she parties and gets drunk and plays footsie with Clay and or assorted men. Who knows? What does it matter if they're actually D in V? Which I think it is. In my personal opinion, I do think Clay put the D in the V. But that's just my opinion. Would you do that if you were married to a woman? Okay, so here's where the phone call comes in. It wasn't a phone call. Now, it was precedented by a phone call. Alex recording Dan, and I hope to heck she showed him. I hope to heck he knew. But what happened was they had this phone call, and she said in a Twitch stream what happened. She said, I didn't record the phone call. I was just shocked that he didn't like my idea of him paying for my love shack. I'm wording it my way, not her way, but this is what she said basically. And I said, I said this and that, like we could just keep this place and blah, blah, blah. And he starts yelling. He said, what the F? Are you crazy? Are you crazy? And he starts throwing things around his house. Now, for her being so much on Johnny Depp's side, does she realize you don't break the law by beating up your own house? No, it's not pleasant that somebody that's very quiet and docile suddenly starts yelling. You can get very afraid. But he was a state away. He was like, what, a 2-hour flight away? I don't know how long it is. He's not throwing things at her. Okay? Not to rationalize that he should, but people, if you told me, hey, sweetheart, you see me all over posting pictures of me and Clay being all together and cozy in videos and blah, 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 and overspending and buying you a car for no reason and yada, yada, yada. If someone did that to me, I'd be screaming. I'd be like throwing things in my own home safely. I would feel like it, but I'm a little bit frugal. So actually breaking something, but throwing like coats and jackets and ripping a closet apart, I probably would do it. But that's from a person that's docile 99% of the time. And I'm assuming he's probably docile a great deal of the time, but she said her way of communicating was to yell and his was to get quiet. So she was very shocked and afraid. And she recorded when he flew in to apologize for doing that. She recorded him. She recorded like, this is Alex, Birdie, and I am going to meet my husband and my friends. I guess her friends were with her at first. And then she decided to go into the venue to meet him in person. And so they talked and she recorded it. Apparently she recorded it. I don't know what was said, but he went home and he didn't change his mind. He wanted a divorce. I'm not surprised if someone purports that they're so afraid of you that they can't come back to get their stuff for months and months. I wouldn't want to be with that person either. I'd be like, you're afraid of me? I'm harmless. I'm never ever going to lay a hand on you. I don't want to be in the situation where if I accidentally like flip my hand on your face while I'm sleeping, there's going to be a police officer called to the house. I'm like, I'm not. I'm out. Bye. I'm so glad he divorced her. Honestly, I feel like it's mental, even though it was probably very painful and he was probably very much crying and not having a good time with everything happening at once. And also being accused of abusing animals, neglecting, I should say, which let's look at the list of all the birds that have died on Alex's watch or been bred when they ought not have been bred. I'm so glad that Lucy responded in such a professional way, waited, and she does say quite clearly that Alex has given lies. And also the creative copying of the messages. Somebody in the forum that does seem to be part of the Sydney crowd of Alex's ex-friends, all ex, did say that there were 80 screenshots of Alex abusing them. I'm assuming via text message, because Alex would crop one of my commenters pointed out to me, because I don't use Facebook anymore, that Alex was cropping like messages. She took messages out to show that her friends weren't messaging her back, which might have been true. They might not have messaged her back, but she might have sent abuse, accusations, abuse.
I take on unwanted birds from people that would literally let them die. Like the pigeon fancier community is rough. They breed pigeons to get specific colorings and shapes, and then they put them in shows and they get money for winning first prizes and stuff like that. And the ones that get deformities because they breed them with their siblings to get certain colors, you end up with deformed birds. And that Schopenhauer that I brought over before, Odette, she has a really bad, one of her eyes is, it's not deformed, but the way the feathers grow inwards instead of outwards, so the feathers grow into her eye. And I take animals that have been neglected and I rehabilitate them. Sometimes I rehome them to good homes. I mean, anyone that thinks I'm an animal abuser because I own a lot of animals has obviously never owned a lot of animals. Why didn't you seem too angry for Dan letting some of them die? What this is referencing is that when I went to Sydney to get some of my birds, I found some dead ones and they didn't have any food or water. And it sucks. But also, you know, Dan works a very, very intense job. At the time, he was working like 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. And he was also doing up the house. And I think that it was really, really unfortunate what happened. And I offered to bring them sooner, to freight them. But at the end of the day, he did it as quickly as he could. He had to get boxes, special transport boxes made up to send them to me. And by the time I got there to collect some myself, it was unfortunate. It's really sad what happened. But also, you know, I can't be angry with him for something that at the end of the day, they are my responsibility. I took on the birds, and even though he was like, it's okay, I can look after them, I've got this, I should have done more. So it's not entirely on him that happened.
There's a whole lot to unpack here, but I kind of want to keep it short and concise. It didn't matter what Alex did or didn't do, or what the people surrounding her did or didn't do. Santa Fe at Bay was going to paint Alex as a villain no matter what. And again, I'm not here to villainize her husband or ex-husband or friends either, but there are some things that Santa Fe at Bay just very easily glossed over that she had spent months demonizing Alex for, namely the birds. All of this claimed animal abuse, when actually it was the husband who had failed to properly care for the birds in Alex's absence, resulting in them passing away. At this point, Santa Fe at Bay had spent months exaggerating and sensationalizing every single aspect of Alex's life, if not lying outright. It became very clear that she had no intention of stopping because her full intention was to monetize off of somebody else's life struggles with divorce. And the only thing that I'm seeing here from this expose of hers is that two people probably shouldn't have been married anymore, and Alex moved on with her life, and I believe the ex-husband did as well. What all of this culminated in, though, is Alex coming back after a long break and doing a long live stream Q&A session where she addressed some of these rumors that had been prominently going around due to the snark pages, the Reddit, Guru Gossiper, and of course Santa Fe at Bay herself. We're going to be looking at that Q&A and Santa Fe at Bay's subsequent response, both of which are quite long, in the next part. And then the rest of the content, unfortunately, there isn't very much because we know how this all ends. We'll then be going through Santa Fe at Bay's final video with all of its contradictions and lies and outright disrespect, and then final thoughts. So thank you for watching and sticking with this video for 70 minutes. I really appreciate it. I think this is an important topic to talk about. I don't like that this person bullied somebody for this long and just thinks that they're going to wipe their entire internet existence and have that not exist anymore. So that's why I'm doing this. I would like to say I hope you enjoyed it. I don't think this is that type of video, but I do appreciate you watching. While editing this video, it came to my attention that Alex's family had released a cause of death on her Facebook page, PrettyPastelPlease. Because I didn't have this information when I began making this video, and for full transparency, I'm going to post that here now. On June 26th at 8:30 p.m., Alex passed away of a sudden and rare fatal heart infection. Alex did not take her own life. And again, that wasn't something I was here to speculate anyways, but I know a lot of people were concerned that that may have been what ultimately happened. And I know it doesn't give a whole lot of peace of mind, but at least that's not what happened, and we conclusively know that now.